Okay, I'll call this regular session of the Greenville City Council to order. On behalf of the City Council and the city staff, we want to thank you for being here tonight. We want to wish you a happy holiday season, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year. And we have a special person among us who's going to offer the invitation tonight, and hopefully a holiday blessing. So please stand while Reverend Kenneth Freeman gives the invocation. Thank you.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you tonight. Thank you for who you are and what you're about to do tonight. The City Council will make the wise decisions for the people who represent us. And I ask and thank you for all of those that have come tonight. And I pray that we work together to make a change in our city that benefits everybody in the city. And Lord, I ask and thank you for blessing us to see another year we had not what wasn't promised to us. And Lord, you blessed us anyway. And Lord, I just thank you for what you're about to do. I ask you to bless them and bless them with a touch of your love and your affection, and bless them with your spirit of giving to so many people that need you, Lord, and so many people that is homeless and struggling. Lord, we need you in our lives, and we need you in our city, and our city council, and all what we do and say. And I thank you, Lord, for blessing us to come tonight to be a blessing to you. This I pray in the mighty name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Freeman. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. I'll call your attention to two placeholders in the agenda tonight, citizens to be heard and public testimony. Citizens to be heard to address the council on items that are not otherwise scheduled for public hearing or on the agenda. Public testimony is for items that are on the agenda starting tonight with ordinances, item 7A. So if you'd like to address the council on any of these issues, please complete a citizen's comment card and present it to our city secretary. I will say, I want to mention that there are two public hearings tonight, and you will be given an opportunity to speak on those also. So I'll ask if you have anyone would like to speak, please present a card. Are there citizens to be heard? Okay.
Diane Wright.
Hello, I'm just going to be brief. My name is Diane Wright. I'm with Hunt County Kids, and I am speaking on behalf of the FEC.
Well, ma'am, you'll be given a chance to do that in the public hearing.
Okay,
Okay? We'll call you. You'll be given a chance to speak then.
okay.
Yeah. Thank you. We'll call you back up.
Next, we have James Evans.
Can you hear in the back?
James.
James Evans, 6410 Buena Vista Drive, Greenville, Texas, 75402. We're so fortunate in Greenville to have Friendly News and Juice to broadcast on TV or on the internet, whatever the situation is, the important events of our city. And I have complimented Gabe when I came in tonight. And again, every time I see anyone from Juice, I'll also say the same thing. This afternoon, for example, I got to watch a Greenville ISD volleyball game on Channel 34. So it's very important. We're broadcasting school board meetings between Friendly News right now is taking care of that. The one thing I would like to ask one of the entities to do, either Juice or Friendly News, if they would, to please still take a look at Broadcasting, Planning, and Zoning Commission meetings. We're drawing some pretty important topics to look at and also some pretty large crowds, and there's a lot of interest out there in town in what we're doing. I would love to see that broadcast. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Are there other citizens?
That's all.
Okay. So we'll move right on to item 6A, which is consideration and action on an ordinance to consider a request by Brian Green for changing zoning from single-family 2 district to commercial district on property located at 2000 Interstate 30. Steve?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is an application for a zoning change to go from single-family 2 to commercial for a Farmers Electric out on the interstate. I'm sure you all know where it is. It concerns several pieces of property. Currently, everything you see up here in purple is zone commercial at this time. If you'll see this area over here, this is right next to Lamar, kind of sits out by itself. We want to change that piece from single family to commercial. And then we have the bigger piece here we want to change from single family 2 to commercial. We're going to stop it at this property line right here. Leave these front properties that face Forester. FEC owns this one to the east and this one to the west. These are going to remain single family 2. They won't be a part of the actual zoning. Once we get the zoning in place, we'll come back and plat these properties, and they'll be separate lots. I think probably what you'll see, everything in purple would be like lot 1, and one of the lots would be lot 2, and one would be lot 3. So that's what they're seeking. They have a big project that they're planning on doing here, and I'm going to let them do that presentation. I think you can see a lot of why they need to do what they need to do. But they are going to preserve the single family 2 on both lots. I sent out a letter to everybody. I think it was 20 something. I actually sent more out than I had to. At the planning and zoning meeting, we received a petition from those folks that live around there. That petition, because it was at least 20% of those owners that I sent a letter to, it was more than that. It will require a supermajority vote of you guys to approve this zoning. I took it to the Planning and Zoning Commission last month, and it was they recommended denial of the petition unanimously. They didn't think we ought to do that, but if you see the presentation, I think you'll see the need for it. You know, from planning aspect, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. You're out here on the interstate, you already have commercial on half of this property here. To not zone this commercial, it's just not, nobody's gonna come in there and build a subdivision right there, and it wouldn't be that many lots with the water and sewer and the cost it would be. I don't think it would make sense. But we are following the comprehensive plan calls for the area to be commercial. It doesn't really go, you have to go contiguous with it. So we're commercial right here, so it could be up or down the line. You can see where we already got commercial all the way up to this point here. So pretty much we would be tying, we would make it about equal across there, and everybody would retain their SF2 zoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for Steve? If there are none, I'd like for Daniel to address that. I think the various parties have been discussing this and may have resolved some of the issues. And could you address those for us, which will change this, the ordinance that we'll be passing tonight?
Yes, hold on.
I don't know where the,
Sorry, I got a little bit of feedback. Can everybody hear me? No. All right, can everybody hear me now? No. Louder. Is it? Okay, can y'all hear me in the hallway? Okay, great. So basically, one of our councilmen worked with both groups, FEC and with some of the property owners that were represented by one particular property owner. And he called me earlier this morning, and we went over a proposed change that basically, if the council accepts this, will change the zoning by adding 2 restrictions. Based on my understanding, if you look at the screen, the 2 I guess lots at the top at the northern edge that are bounded by Forester Street. There was a desire to make sure that in writing, in a way that couldn't easily be undone, that those restrictions for commercial driveways along those two tracks was going to be limited. And so I spoke, after I spoke with the councilman, I also spoke with FEC's attorney today. She sent me a copy of a document that's their proposed restrictions. And so I spoke with the council and let them know, number one, that if they're going to approve this, it does require a supermajority. Since there's 7 people here in the quorum right now, that means 6 of them have to vote for it. If they do, I propose that they do that after a special motion be read, and that the vote be on that motion. And so the motion basically is intended to give rise to enforceable legal rights related to those 2 restrictions. One of them relates to the one on the left, which is the easternmost lot. And the restriction for that one would be that no commercial driveway could be built on that property for 10 years from the end of this month. So December 31st, 2032 would be the first time that anything could be built there as far as a commercial driveway. Commercial driveways generally can't be built there anyway until the zoning is changed. And so there will be a time for that. If FEC 10 years from now wants to build a commercial driveway on that tract on the east, they'd still have to come back before planning and zoning and the city council for additional approval. The second restriction would apply to the one on the right, the easternmost tract. FEC's proposal and what the council may vote on tonight is to restrict their ability to build a commercial driveway on that property through a more prohibitive, restrictive covenant that would be filed in the next 90 days. So that this would be approved, if it is approved by the council, would be approved subject to the filing of that restrictive covenant in the next 90 days. The restrictive covenant would basically say that no commercial driveway could ever be built there so long as it still carries the SF2 designation, the single-family 2 designation. That's a change that, if it is made in the future, is going to have to be brought back before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council for another 2-part vote. And so if the council makes a motion and then seconds the motion and then votes in supermajority, a 3/4 supermajority, 6 out of these 7, then it would be the approval to change Tract 1 and Tract 2 to commercial would be subject to those 2 restrictions. So at a minimum, there would be no commercial driveway construction on any property that bounds Forester for 10 years and 20 days. And there would never be a commercial driveway on the easternmost tract until the council considered again changing that from SF2 to commercial. And so basically, if this does move forward, I mean, obviously we need to have the proposal presentation by the person asking for the change. But if the council makes that motion and then votes that direction, that would be about as permanent as the council can make that change to respect the desires of the property owners on Forester.
So as you consider this tonight, consider that in the context of what Daniel just told you, and now I'd like to ask FEC to come up and make a presentation, if you would please. Introduce yourself. And
Mayor and City Council, my name is Mark Stubbs. I'm the General Manager of Farmers Electric Cooperative, a position that I've been honored to hold for the past 18 years. I'm going to ask Brian Green, Senior Director of Engineering Operations, to give the bulk of the presentation, but I'll just make a couple of remarks before we get started. First, I want to apologize to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We didn't do a very good job of presenting our case when we came to the Planning and Zoning Commission. I've served on a Planning and Zoning Commission, so I get it, and I want to apologize. But hopefully we'll set the record straight tonight about what we're doing, why we're doing it. In the last 18 years that I've been at Farmers Electric, when I started in end of 2004, we had 39,000. We served 39,000 meters. We passed 88,000 meters last month, and we'll pass 100,000 meters probably in a year or so. There's 800 electric co-ops in the United States, and we are the fastest growing co-op in the nation. There's a co-op just in Denton County Electric Co-op. They do business as CoServe. They were about 100,000 meters 25 years ago. Now they're 300,000. That's where we're headed. I mean, the growth's coming this way, and so our, they employ 600 people. I mean, that's where this is headed. So we've got to do something. We had plans that we were ready to bring a couple of years ago, and COVID hit, and then Winter Storm Uri took up a little of our time, and so we're delayed. But this project is important. It's important to the community. It's important to Farmers Electric. We want to be good neighbors. That's how we do business. I want to point out Bobby Middleton and his lovely wife, Michelle. Bobby's been on our board for many, many years. He's an officer, and he's here representing the board to confirm and convey on behalf of our board that, our intentions are pure. We want to do what's right. His word is his bond, and Bobby's a Greenville High School graduate, class of 76. Michelle's a class of 77. Greenville's important to them, and we want to just hopefully you'll understand what we're doing. And so I'll ask Brian to go through a few slides and give you some information. Hopefully you learn something about Farmers Electric.
Thank you.
Good evening, council, mayor, staff. Appreciate this opportunity to present this project to you guys. I'm going to dive right into it. I will say that we're going to give a little bit of an abbreviated version of this because I think we have an agreement in place. I'm going to hit some highlights, and I want to make sure you guys understand who Farmers Electric is and kind of what we're trying to accomplish here. So Farmers Electric was formed in 1937. We are two co-ops that were started by the Rural Electrification Administration. President, Roosevelt or FDR, started all that. There was a co-op in Rockwall and one in Emory. Those two merged together in 1937, became Farmers Electric Cooperative. Those original articles of incorporation stated that the principal office of the corporation shall be in Greenville, Hunt County, Texas. So we have been in Greenville since 1937, give or take. We have been at that current location out on I-30 since 1963. And I think prior to that, there was an office located in downtown Greenville. All the people that I'm aware of that know where that was, they're not around anymore to point it out to us. But we've been around in Greenville for a long time. In 2017, we had an industrious employee of ours that wanted to see if he could get us designated as a historical landmark. So he wrote a paper to the Historical Commission, and we have a plaque out on our property now that states that, we were a part of the beginnings of rural electrification in Northeast Texas. So kind of like to hang our hat on that. Mark gave you some of the stats a while ago, but we're currently serving 88,000 members spread out over 12 counties. I'm going to show you a map in a second. Hunt County is our largest meter count county, so we go from the edge of Collin County and eastern Dallas County down around to Kaufman. But Hunt County is our core. We've got a little bit over 6,000 miles of line. We're adding about 200 a year. We spend $35 to $40 million annually on our CapEx, so we're doing a lot of projects. We currently have 184 employees. 65 of those have been added since we did our last building project in 2009. As Mark mentioned, COVID hit and everything, we, just like everybody else, we shut down, and so we didn't add any employees in 2020 or 21. So we have been playing catch up this year. We've added 23 employees in 2020. And our projections show we're going to be at close to 275 by 2030. And this will give you a little idea of kind of what our annual growth rate looks like. So back in the early mid-2000s, we were growing at about 2,500 meters a year, and we all know what happened in 08, 09. We had a pretty good economic decline. Things kind of slowed down. Well, we had started that project when we were growing. We got into it right as the bottom kind of hit, And so we had several years where we grew into those facilities we built in 2009. And this orange line kind of represents the percentage of our growth. So we were above 6% when all that was happening. We fell off. In 2017, we started getting back to that 6% mark, but the last 2 years, we've been at 9 and 10%, which is just really incredible growth. As Mark stated, we're one of the fastest growing co-ops in the country, out of the 800 co-ops there are out there. So we are in desperate need of some new facilities. We're going to end the year a little less than we did last year. Obviously, 21 was a record year for us at 7,600. We're guesstimating we're going to end the year around 6,200 new meters this year. This kind of outlines our service territory. Like I said, we run from the edge of Rockwall, southeast Collin County, northern Kaufman County, and then all the way east to just the edge of Franklin County. But we serve the majority of Hopkins, Rains, Hunt counties. Those are our three big core counties, Delta County. Greenville is really important to us because it is our geographic center. We like being in Greenville because we have access to I-30 to get back to the west, 30 to get back to the east, and we can take 69 to the south getting into Rains County. So being in Greenville is important to us. Steve just showed you this. It's just kind of, this is what we're here to talk about today, is to get this zoning changed. So we've requested zoning change in this hatched parcel here and this hatched parcel here. And we're requesting no changes to the current zoning in these two areas here that are facing Forester and in between the residential areas up there. This is kind of what the ultimate goal looks like. We'd like to have this area all zone commercial that you see in purple, and then these two yellow areas to remain SF2. This is just the current zoning map. You can see it's kind of unusual, and I'll give a little bit more detail on this in a second. But these parcels that we own right here are split. Most every other zoning on most every other parcel out here actually follows the property line. So we have a pretty unique situation right now that we've got split zoning on several parcels out here. As Steve mentioned, this kind of follows along with the objectives of the comprehensive plan. We think we're meeting several of these objectives, and it does show that this zoning line does get pushed further north than what it currently is. This is a little bit detailed. So these tracks highlighted in blue, kind of the light blue, are the ones that we currently own, and there's several of them. One of the things I wanted to point out with this, so we're proposing this zoning line be at this point right here. That's a little over 300 feet from Forester. We've got several places. This new truck stop, the commercial zoning runs all the way to Forester. And then at the CCS water facility down here, they're the only ones that kind of have a similar situation as we do. This little access area right here belongs to these folks, and they have a split zoning. That little strip right there is SF2, but they're not using it for anything. It is just open space there for them also. That zoning gets within 135 foot of Forester at that location. So we have quite a bit larger buffer that we're proposing back here in what we're requesting. This is our proposed site plan. So we have 3 buildings existing currently. We call them buildings A, B, and C. So A is our administration building. B is what we call our meeting facility. It's got our boardroom and about a 350 person meeting space in it. And then building C is our current warehouse and operations center. What we plan to do is add on to that building and build a new operations center between this warehouse piece of this and a truck shed. We're going to build a mechanic shop, another storage building out here, some just like 3-sided lean-to type equipment storage, a new warehouse, and then a new admin building that's going to go up here. The plan is to demo this existing building A that's been in place since 1963. One of the other things, so we currently do, well, I'll talk about this a little bit more in a second, but we do a lot of lineman training with our guys. And so we're currently doing that up kind of in this northeast area right now. Our plan is to move that training yard over into this area. And we do overhead and underground training. So our plan is to do our pole type work more towards the interstate, and our underground stuff kind of on the northern end where it would be hid behind the security fences. And this is what we're trying to build. This is what we want it to look like out there. We want a nice campus that's, sits on the edge of the city, and so you get a good, a good, nice looking campus as you're coming into town. This is just a different angle of that admin building. I'm going to skip through most of this because I think we've worked out most of these issues, but there are a couple of things that I did want to highlight out here. There was some talk about we wouldn't be any benefit to the community of Greenville, because we're an electric company. We don't serve meters inside Greenville. Y'all got juice for that. But we're gonna increase the tax revenue over the next 30 years, about $34.2 million. We've donated since 2008 over $860,000 to a lot of the local organizations that are here to support us tonight. And I'll let them speak for themselves. And we employ 184 individuals currently, with projections to go to that 275. So I think that's important for us. One of the things that we heard a lot of, and I think even you guys here at the city have heard it, we plan to cut down all the trees on the property. That's just not accurate. We had to do a tree survey for our landscaping plan, so every tree on the campus currently has a ribbon tied around it. That was just so the surveyors they knew which ones they'd already located. So, we definitely don't plan to cut down all those trees. We will take all the care we can to preserve every one that we can. There are some that will have to go, but we will work with the city planners on a landscape plan to make sure that, we follow that ordinance. The other one is that we've installed some unattractive, am I not getting to that close enough? All right. We've installed some unattractive fencing, and we do have a hodgepodge of fencing out there. We've got some chain link, we've got some metal fencing, we've got some fiberboard privacy type fence. We're more than happy to work with the city to come up with some appropriate fencing that everybody's happy with out there. So I think that's something that we are definitely willing to make the neighbors happy with over there. And the other thing is there was some talk about we demolished some nice houses out there. I'm going to show you some pictures in a second, but we demolished some stuff that I think was a benefit to the city. And some of it you guys know about, some of it you probably don't. So this is a house that was located, it was on this westernmost property next to Miss Bruner here. This was the lot that we bought. This is what it looked like when we purchased it. This is what it looks like today. We just cleaned it up, cleaned the house down, trimmed the trees up, and keep it moving. This is another house. This is the one that's a little bit further to the east. It sat on these lots up here. There was actually two houses here. This is the only one I had a picture of, but we removed this structure, and this is kind of what it looks like there today. Same thing. We've trimmed the trees, mowed the grass, and cleaned those structures up that were sitting empty. This is what we call the Moore property. It actually sits over on Lamar Street. There was a house and a couple of barns out here that we've taken down. I'll get into something that you guys probably remember. There was a motorcycle shop that sat between us and the Dream Lodge. We purchased it and removed it. And then everybody remembers the Dream Lodge, I'm sure. If you've been around very long, this was a real thorn in our side. There was a lot of crime, prostitution, drugs, you name it. Part of the reason we have some of that fencing we have is we were getting broke into daily. And we had to do something to stop those folks from getting in our yard. We had getting in our warehouse, stealing copper. One night they got a truck, loaded it full of stuff, and drove it out the gate. I mean, it was terrible. We purchased this. The DEA, actually did a great job out there. They finally were able to seize this property, and we ended up, after that time had expired, we purchased it from the city. So, with plans of expanding this project, and here's what that looks like today. It's a much better site today. just for your information, we've purchased a little over $750,000 worth of property since 2004 in hopes of doing this expansion at some point. You know, expansion is a long game, and you got to plan for it. And we've been planning for this for a long time. We spent about $250,000 doing that cleanup. So we had to do a lot of asbestos abatement, a demolition, clean air remediation, and tree clearing and trimming out there. All told, we've invested a little bit over $1 million in gathering up additional properties. Like I said, we support several organizations: the Hunt County Shared Ministries, Lake Area Shared Ministries, Community Seeds, Hunt County Kids, Boys and Girls Club. We participate with the Greenville Chamber of Commerce, the Hunt County Fair, the Women in Need. We've been a longtime sponsor of the Iron Lines Solar Car Team, and I think Joel's here to talk about that. But since 2008, we've donated over $863,000 to these community organizations. We've in our meeting facility, we host a lot of different events, but we've done a lot of stuff, you know, with the local EMS, Blue Santa lunching, the first responders banquet, the Greenville Fire Department. Jeremy Powell's here to talk to that if we need him to. But we have in part of our underground training area, we have a vault that we use to do confined space rescue. The city comes out and does their confined space rescue at our location. So we do, also contribute to the community in that way. We've worked with the fire department also to fly the big, I know you've all seen it, at various events, the big flag that the fire department has. We've flown it at Veterans Day, several funerals. There's a lot of cooperation between us and the city there. We aided the city in 2019 when those tornadoes came through. We were not quite as fortunate. I mean, y'all were not quite as fortunate as we were. We had our stuff cleaned up in about 12 hours. And anyway, I called Alicia and asked if she could use some help, and she said, "Yeah, I would love some." So we sent some crews up there and helped during that cleanup of those tornadoes. We host those training classes for linemen. They typically bring in, a lot of those guys are coming in from out of town, all around the state. We bring in 40 to 50 students at a time. So you've got a lot of hotel and motel tax type stuff there from those guys. And this expansion should allow us to host more of those training type sessions. Mark mentioned our locals. We have, 22 Greenville High School graduates on staff. We got 30 people currently residing in the city limits and 11 veterans on staff. In the last 10 years, we've spent about $410,000 on utility payments to the city. It's a pretty significant number. That's just for water, sewer, and garbage. So there's that. Over the last 10 years, we've paid about $2.5 million in taxes, which kind of pales in comparison to where we're heading. So we've did a little bit of a rate impact study with you for what this project looks like. But if we do this project, just the city of Greenville taxes over the next 30 years will be about $10.7 million. Without it, it's about $2 million. So $8.7 million increase with this project to the city. The county receives a $5.5 million increase, the hospital 3.2. This is the big one for me though. Greenville ISD would see $20 million in tax revenue with this project versus the $4 million without it. So that's nearly $16.9 million in additional revenue for the Greenville ISD here. All told, it's a $34.2 million positive impact to the tax base. So the last thing I just want to mention, one of the things that's in the comprehensive plan is they wanted to see some industrial type uses with campus-like settings, and I think that's what we've got laid out here. This is a $35 million project. Plans are ready. We are ready to kick this off in Q1 of 2023. So there is no delay in starting this project. And I'm going to say, I think Mark's got some.
Okay, thank you very much.
Just reiterate that Greenville's important to us. It's important to me. I was born here. We want to do something good for the city and the community. And when you come in from the east side or from the east, you'll see a really nice development project. create jobs, provide a tax base. There's no hidden agendas here. We have, almost 90,000 meters that we've got to serve, and we're sort of behind getting this project going, so it's not something that's going to languish. We plan to move pretty expeditiously, and hopefully with your approval, your blessing, we'll be off and running and get on with it. So.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions for either Mark or Brian regarding their presentation, council?
Mind-boggling.
Yeah. Very impressive. Thank you very much.
By the way, it didn't make the final cut, but our projected revenue over, I think it was in what I sent y'all email, but our projected revenue payroll over 30 years, we expect this to be a 60-year, another 60 years. We do this, we're not going anywhere. It's about $800 million in payroll over the next 30 years. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and making that fabulous presentation. So now I'll open the public hearing, and first of all, I'll ask, is there anyone who would like to, are there people who would like to speak in opposition to this zoning request?
I have some there.
Okay.
Mary Bruner.
Can you, somebody in the hall?
Mary Bruner.
Okay, she's coming up. And that's Summer. Okay, she declined to speak. Are there other in opposition?
Diane Wright. I'm not sure. It's not in opposition. Okay, that's all I had for opposition.
Okay, there being essentially no opposition. Is there anyone like to speak in favor of this zoning request?
Diane Wright.
Okay. Okay, we've got Diane coming up first, Greg. Sorry. Thank you. Can you give your address, please?
My address?
Yes,
is,
your name and address.
My name is Diane Wright, and my address is 2418 County Road 2508. My address is Quinlan, but I'm physically located in Caddo Mills,
Okay, thank you.
if you want to figure that out. Okay, my name is Diane Wright. I'm speaking on behalf of Hunt County Kids, and I just had a couple of statements to make. Since 2008, FEC has contributed $81,000 to Hunt County Kids for help with school supplies and backpacks, etc., for underprivileged children in Hunt County. We are 100% volunteer. They have supported us with our annual reading roundup, which is held at DC Cannon Elementary School in Quinlan, and that's pre-K3 through the second grade. This school is 81% economically challenged, according to the TEA. At the reading roundup, we provide brand-new books to the children to take home to read, because we're all about education. The one way out of poverty is through education. And FEC has been extremely instrumental in helping us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sims?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Greg Sims, Greenville Board of Development. I just wanted to speak on behalf of a staff person here that we've been, just full disclosure, we've been working with FEC for the last few months on this project. It is a very worthwhile project for us to work on, bringing the tax base, the additional tax base for all our taxing entities that they described, including the hospital district, the school district, the county, and the city. Also, the additional jobs it brings. This really is a business retention project as much as it is a business attraction. One thing that we do at the Board of Development is we hold business retention probably a little higher priority because they're already here. And so, we feel like that this project, they're paying taxes. They have great employment here. If you saw the amount of territory is just mind-boggling about the territory that they have their service territory, and to operate out of Greenville, it certainly makes a lot of sense to me that the logistics would work for them to be here, but that doesn't mean they have to be in the city of Greenville. We have other companies, as you know, that are located in other parts of the county, other cities in the county, that could enjoy the same logistics. So I don't want to take it for granted that, they're going to be here in Greenville. And so, we hope that, you folks like this project. From what they've said, that it is going to be a campus environment, which is something we look for. We don't get it a lot. We don't get a lot of companies willing to do what they're trying to do. And so, what they're proposing is a very, very nice development in an area of our city that, frankly, we don't get much growth other than the truck stop that's going in next door. But, I hope you like it. I just want to remind us, I think a supermajority, I think they could only afford maybe one no vote. Is that correct, Daniel? So they can only afford one no vote, or the project fails, and then they have to wait a year to come back. And I'll just tell you, working with them the last couple months, if they have to wait a year, they're not going to wait a year. They will go someplace else. So, for what it's worth, I just want to clarify that, Mayor, that this is a supermajority vote again, but I hope you do vote for it. So thank you very much.
Bert Cooper.
My name is Bertram Cooper, and my address is 319 Rains County Road, Lone Oak, Texas. Honorable Mayor, Ransom, City Council, thank you for allowing me to be here today. I represent an organization called Community Seeds, and we are one of several organizations that has received support from FEC. Our organization's relationship with FEC began October of 2009 when their board member came to our campus and heard our vision to begin a faith-based nonprofit organization that wanted to make a difference in the lives of others by providing food, clothing, vocational opportunities, and emergency rent and utility support. And I'll circle back to that in a second if you allow me to. And I want to do that because even before our great relationship began with FEC, we had established a personal relationship with them 8 years prior in 2001 as an FEC customer. Obviously, throughout my life as a college student, professional football player, businessman, etc., I've had great opportunities to work with numerous electrical companies, either from my home or for my office. It's my testimony before you today, all of you today, that no prior electrical server has come close to the superior service I've received from FEC, and especially their member care representatives. Their service then and their service now has been above reproach. When bad weather caused electrical failures, as happens on occasions, they've always responded to the call quickly and efficiently, and they'd actually call us to be sure that the power had been restored and that we were okay. They showed great care for us as a member of the cooperative. I've spoken to numerous of my neighbors, and they share these exact same sentiments about FEC and its great services. As I mentioned earlier, in 2009, they became a corporate sponsor of our supporter of our organization called Community Seeds, providing funding for the poor and less fortunate of the 3 counties that Community Seeds serves. Their support mechanism is very simple, Mayor. It's called Operation Roundup, where participating members' monthly bills are rounded up to the next dollar. That small change generates a lot of money for organizations to help others. It's given organizations the assistance to help many families that are in need. And these funds are not just given to pay FEC electric bills. FEC's mission and Community Seeds' missions are the same, to give folk a hand up when needed. Yes, we've been able to help hundreds of folk with FEC electrical bills, But additionally, when we reached out to FEC in helping a poor single dad whose refrigerator had gone out as he was raising his son, his refrigerator went out, and this dad was on a very meager budget. Community Seeds did not have the funds to help this dad when he reached out to us. So we in turn reached out to FEC because we didn't have those funds. When we described the situation to FEC, they did what a great community partner should do. They provided us funds to purchase a new refrigerator for that dad and son. On another occasion, we reached out to FEC to support a struggling mother raising 5 children on a very, very meager budget. And one of the children was severely mentally and physically challenged. This mother had been putting her child and his wheelchair in their car. Small lady lifting a child and a wheelchair in a car. But as that child grew, that became nearly impossible for the mother to lift this child and a wheelchair. It was obvious that this mother needed some other means of transportation. We reached out to FEC when we knew this was a legitimate situation. We described the need, and FEC provided funds for a van equipped with a liftgate appropriate for the child and this necessary wheelchair, relieving the mother's burden. I'm here to tell you that FEC has integrity. They're not just an electric company. They're a true community partner that fully understands and cares about the needs of its members and the needs of a community as a whole. Any company that sees and meets those needs, they grow. And they grow as their community grows. And as such, necessary infrastructure and demands become greater for that company as they serve their loved community. FEC would never do anything to hurt its community. It's not in their DNA. Their purpose, as ours as a ministry, is to improve the lives of those around them, one family at a time. Thank you.
Sean Franklin.
Hello. Sean Franklin, 1109 Ethan Drive, Greenville, Texas. After hearing the presentation, I just want to give my support to FEC Electric. I've known several of the employees there. I've known their management. And based on the taxes, the economic impact, the good corporate citizenship, I just give my support. Thank you.
Michael Weltzheimer.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, I came prepared to read several things, but I just want to give my support to FEC. I'm an employee of them. I've been an employee for almost 2 years. I watched the presentation that Mr. Green presented a minute ago that showed how many employees we have hired. The one thing I know, in the 18 months I've been there, we've hired 42 employees, so the growth is phenomenal. What I did write that I'd like to read is that we care about our employees and also the 80,000 plus members we serve in this area. Farmers provides their employees with a good salary, awesome benefits. Our facilities are maintained and kept clean. Also, our employees have up-to-date equipment and vehicles to use. Farmers is proactive toward the growth we are experiencing in new members and the fact that we hired these 42 employees since I came to work. I'm proud to work for a company that sees our growth as beneficial, but also realizes with growth, we have ran out of space in our offices and facilities and taken the steps to add additions to the existing buildings. And I would like to thank those that have stepped out in support of us, and we thank you guys for your time. I did not do it. It's Michael Weltzheimer, 16 Mulaney Drive here in Greenville. Thank you.
Samantha Crouch.
Good evening, council members, Mr. Mayor. I'm Samantha Crouch. I'm an employee of Farmers Electric. I live in Sulphur Springs. But I wanted to take the opportunity to reiterate what my coworkers and my boss have said, that Farmers is truly an extraordinary organization. We are growing at an extraordinary pace. We have an unbelievably talented group of employees who are here supporting the community. And I'd like to reiterate that we're proud to be here and we would like to continue to be here. Thank you for your time.
Holly Gray.
I'm Holly Gray, 7402 Hackberry Drive in Greenville. And I had actually written down a whole lot of notes to give tonight, but after listening to the presentation, I just want to say one thing. I think not only is FEC doing a wonderful project for our community, but the things that they do for our community is impactful. And I think you've heard several people talk about it. You've heard them speak about it. So their community involvement and their care for Greenville, I think, is something to really consider tonight in this zoning possibility. Thank you.
Bobby Middleton.
Good evening. My name's Bobby Middleton. I'm Range County Road 4410 Point. And as Mark said earlier, I am on the board of directors for the co-op. I feel very, very privileged to work with them, their staff, and all their employees. I'm also very privileged to serve the members. And I'd like to take this time to point out what's probably obvious to most people: a co-op's different. A co-op does not answer to stockholders. We answer to members. With that as our primary mission, I think I can safely say that we can be trusted. We definitely want to be good neighbors, and I think you can count on us to be like that going forward for many years to come. Thank you for hearing me, and I just appreciate that you give your support for FEC tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Brian Sims.
City Council, Mr. Mayor. My name's Brian Sims. I'm Operation Line Superintendent at Farmers Electric Co-op. I've worked there 28 and a half years. Born and raised in Greenville, Texas. This is where I am, where I want to be. I've held every job out there, just about. And I think it's important to say, about 5 years ago, my roots were in line work. We've represented this city throughout the whole Gulf Coast during hurricanes. We've been to Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana several times. I have personally. As long as I led the crew when we came and helped the city here a few years ago, we were actually chomping at the bits to come help. These are our neighbors. These are our friends. A lot of our employees, linemen's sons work for the city. So it's not really who you pay your meter to. It's just about helping. 5 years ago, when I was asked to become a line superintendent, during my interview process, Mr. Green, at the direction of Mr. Stubbs here, I was, what do I do? Whatever. And their direction to me was always do what's right, and you'll be fine. So with that being said, I hope y'all take that into consideration. Any issues that may arise as a result of any of this building or whatever, and sure, there's going to be growing pains. I can promise you, at the direction of them, that we will do what's right and we'll make it right, as we do with our members on a daily basis. And thank you for your time. That's all I got to say. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Brittany Sims.
My name is Brittany Sims. My address is 3668 County Road 3328, Greenville, Texas. I'm a born and raised resident of Greenville, Texas, and I have served this community for 23 years as a fourth-generation funeral director and mortician. My service here and commitment goes back decades. I'm also the event organizer for the Greenville Municipal Police Association's Blue Santa program that helps provide a positive bridge between local law enforcement and children affected by horrific assaults and different crimes of all ages. I will also preface that I am the wife of Brian Sims, who is employed by Farmers Electric. I personally know what FEC brings to this community. I would like to address the one comment that I did read where FEC does not bring benefit to this community. I beg to differ. Since the conception of Blue Santa in 2015, FEC has been there and supported the GMPA every year from storing and monitoring 24/7 the gifts for 160 of our Greenville and local crime victim children for the Greenville Police Department, DPS, AMR, and Greenville Fire Department to deliver to help give something positive to these children during one of the worst times of their lives that I hope none of us in here ever know. Our community has donated the very first year $25,000 in gifts, the DA's office alone buying Xboxes. That is something that most of these kids would have never received otherwise, and FEC made sure that they were monitored until they were delivered to the recipient. The recipients of those 2 Xboxes are in this neighborhood behind FEC. They donated the same space for the same kids to come meet Blue Santa, donated $1,140 to help provide lunch to have with Blue Santa to make their wish list. A lot of these kids came hungry. They told us they were hungry, and FEC made sure that they ate. They were able to take extra food home to eat that night. These are kids from Greenville. Some of these kids are in the same areas alone still to this day behind FEC, and I guarantee you that they would help them. When we delivered those specific gifts that the DA's office donated, do you want to know who donated or delivered them? It was the local law enforcement and Farmers Electric employees and their spouses. They also provided their property to prepare the GMPA Blue Santa float for the Christmas parade through the years, along with donating the materials for it. The very last year that we were able to do it before COVID, we won first place, thanks to FEC's tremendous help. They hold bake sales that go to Hunt County Relay for Life. They donate their facilities for the Hunt County First Responders, the USPCA Canine Trial Banquets when Greenville is chosen to host. They also have a competition every year for the employees that bring the most food that goes back to our local community and our food bank. I've been there and I've helped donate and move the food. Anytime the American flag is presented at all the community events, whether it's going to be at the sheriff's office that I help coordinate, the first responders luncheon that I have helped coordinate, veterans funerals that I have personally done, or the Hunt County officials needing it at one of the schools, you're going to find FEC gladly and willingly at the drop of a hat to present it without hesitation. I will also like to add things that somebody may not know here. The TEC gives out life-saving awards and has given out countless awards to the Greenville Farmers Electric employees. My husband was one of the recipients. When a Hunt County woman was drowning in Lake Tawakoni in front of her children, he was checking poles. Without hesitation, he dove in and he swam yards, putting his life at risk to save hers. I could have become a widow that day. Luckily, I was not. Jacob McPherson, a meter reader for FEC who was alone on a job, hit the ditch to pull a Hunt County disabled elderly man that was burning inside of his home and saved his life. His wife could have become a widow that day also. And FEC does not give back to the community. I don't see how that's even able to be said. That's one thing I don't take lightly in that area. But why would we even want to risk a company like this not prospering and expanding in Greenville? Do you know what we have to lose if FEC leaves? I'm going to leave it at this. What benefit did the Dream Lodge bring specifically, and what did they contribute? I can tell you as your local mortician for decades, I know what it contributed, and I'm beyond thankful FEC brought it, mowed it down, and cleaned it up with the intent to expand. I have had my fill of that specific place through the years and would much rather see a productive business that repeatedly gives back to this community build and continue to give back to us rather than the previous one that I dealt with overdoses, suicides, and other senseless avoidable deaths. That's going to sound harsh, but it's the firsthand truth, and the grief I personally walked through with families affected by that place. Good riddance. If they leave, can you imagine what a vacant Farmers Electric cooperative would turn into quick, and then what you will have in your backyard? Look at what we have with our current issues around here. I'm proud to be a part of the FEC family, everything they stand for. I'm proud to give back my own service to this community day in and day out, night and day, professionally and personally. I really hope that my words can be taken into some account because I'm willing to come here and bat for them any day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Shelley Corrales.
Hi, my name is Shelley Corrales, and I'm the president and CEO of the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. And it's been said tonight that Farmers Electric Cooperative has been a positive part of Greenville for over 80 years. And not only that, they have been an active member of the Greenville Chamber of Commerce since 1961, which was before their current location in 1963. And that happens to be 61 years. So they participate each year in several of our major events, which includes golf, banquet, and auction. And I'm proud that they are growing. I'm proud that they employ members of our community. And I ask you to please continue to support this business so that they can continue to grow and be here another 80 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is that all the comments? Okay.
Roger Taylor.
Thank y'all for letting me speak at this forum. My name is Roger Taylor, 9621 County Road 2300. I'm the director of the LASM Food Pantry in Quinlan, Texas. And I just want to say that Farmers Electric has supported us since 2008, and I have a financial officer that's going to come up in a few minutes and give you the details on it. There would be a lot of people in southern Hunt County that would not have any electricity if it wasn't for FEC supporting us and helping them pay their electrical bills. They also give us grants to help buy food to feed that community. We feed all of Hunt County, not just southern Hunt County. Anybody that comes to us will get food. There's one personal thing I wanted to say is I had an oak tree fall in my yard across my driveway. The rain had uprooted the root. Farmers Electric came out there, and the guy, the employee, I couldn't get out of my driveway to go get a chainsaw. He burned up 2 chainsaw blades cutting a tree out of my driveway just so I could get out. And that had nothing to do with his job. But I thank y'all for listening to me, and I hope that y'all let FEC stay here in Greenville.
Thank you very much. You have one more?
About 4 more.
Okay.
Michelle Frazier.
Hi, my name is Michelle Frazier, 6240 BZ County Road 3504. I am the treasurer since 2018 for Lake Area Shared Ministries. I just want to give my testimony in favor for their expansion. Since 2008, they have supported our food pantry and have contributed over $275,000. And so our organization is 100% volunteer, and we support the community and families within Hunt County, as Roger Taylor had communicated. And those families are Greenville families. And in 2022, we're looking to serve approximately 16,000 families for the year. Daily, on average, we serve about 90 families from the Hunt County area. And so we rely on support from companies and organizations like FEC. So it's very important to the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
George Cronky.
George Cronky, 6402 Buena Vista, Greenville, Texas. I'll be brief. I'd like to talk briefly on the impact of FEC on our solar car program. Not only are they a monetary sponsor, but more importantly, they help us in places where we can't. They have employed our high school graduates that have gone off into engineering school and employed them during the summer, which is a very hard thing for us to do with our students, to get them employed when they're going to college. And they also have a young man that's a graduate of our program, our high school and our program, that's been with them probably 5 to 8 years. So not only a phenomenal community partner, they partner with us in things that are hard to accomplish. So thank y'all.
Thank you very much.
Joel Pitts.
My
My name's Joel Pitts. I'm at 934 County Road 4122, Campbell, Texas 75422. I'm here to speak as the lead sponsor for the Iron Line Solar Car team at Greenville High School. Farmers Electric has been a sponsor since 2011. They were the first sponsor that we called when we got with the kids to figure out, like, well, who do we reach out to? And they did not hesitate. They've been unwavering. Their support of our solar car team and the impact that it's had on the students, and along with other sponsors and people that have had impact with this on the students, their monetary donation goes towards this. From the very beginning when we started the program, I did not want to charge a fee for this, for the solar car program. I wanted every student, no matter their socioeconomic ability, to be able to do that. Because some kids, if there's a fee, they're turned off. Or they feel like, well, I can't do that, I don't have the money, or I can't do this. And so we've always had a goal to empower the students through this program to say they can do whatever they want. And as a teacher, you don't always know if you're touching kids' lives, but through this program, George Cronk and myself and Lucas Kiowski is going to speak later, we've seen it happen. And so FEC has been with this every step of the way since 2011 through everything. They've been an unwavering sponsor. We always know that we can count on them. And it's reassuring when we receive their donation that we've impacted those students. I'm going to give you a real rough conservative number of students just through my program. Since 2011, 2012, we've touched about 1,200 students' lives through this program. And that doesn't count us going to the elementaries for their little career days and our kids speaking about the car and engineering. And it's not just engineering, electrical, mechanical. The kids do finance. They do the budget with that finance. They speak like I am right now in a situation where you're on media or talking in front of people. They give elaborate presentations, which prepares them to go out in the world. So I want to speak for them and the impact that they've had in our school district and the community. And those kids, like George Cronky said, have grown up and they've stayed here in Greenville. They've made it home. They've made a place where they want to work. And through their support, we've also had kids that go to one of our other, at L3, they work out there. And so I just can't say enough about the dedication that they've had with this program. And I know that they've helped FFA out in other schools. But here in the city of Greenville, they're a true partner. And they're here for the long run. And they care about the citizens and the kids and people that live here in Greenville, Texas. So I'm for them for this program. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Lucas Kiowski.
Good evening. My name is Lucas Kiowski, 5201 Stonewall Street here in Greenville. My name is Lucas Kiowski, but everybody knows me as Chef. I run the culinary program up at GHS. And in addition to that, I got hooked into the solar car program 12 years ago. And so I wanted to speak a little bit as far as being a community partner, that impact that it's had directly on my life, that FTC has had in my life. Obviously, as chefs, not really supposed to do solar car or this, that, and the other, but their support got us started and kept us running. And it's become a real passion of mine, and it's kind of changed. I have now this dual role at school, both with the solar car and running our culinary programs. So it's really impacted me in that way. Also, personally, I have a senior daughter who is part of our solar car program and has been for 4 years. And without this program, I can assure you she would have not ever have even looked at an engineering field, much less with alternative energy. So that has definitely impacted our family. And then thirdly, they talked about the storms in 2019. My house was impacted by that with some deadfall, and it was an FEC truck that was in my driveway in the middle of Greenville, Texas, that was helping to take care of that. So they are a community partner. I know they're continuing to expand, and I hope that we can support this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wally Jeffers.
My name is Wally Jeffers. I do look a little different than the last time you saw me because my face is clean shaven, so you may not recognize me. But I live at 25 Mulaney Drive here in Greenville. I'm the executive director for Hunt County Shared Ministries. I've had a partnership with FEC for the last 15 years as that director, and I've seen them pour thousands of dollars every year into helping us serve their customers and providing utility assistance to them. They also help us with our Meals at Risk program that we work with school districts all over the county. And then they help with Hunt County Gives. They've done food drives for us. They're very active. So they are a great community partner. They are a great business in our community, hiring local folks to go to work for them. You may not also know that they also are a GEUS customer. Their water, sewer, and garbage they purchase from our local city. And so they're not just a business and a company and a good neighbor, but they are also a customer for the city of Greenville, which is a big deal. And with their proposed expansion, that will just increase their revenue to this city and to help what's going on around our city. But one of the things I wanted to say is I remember serving folks from the Dream Lodge. That was a nasty place. I hated coming in from the Sulphur Springs and seeing that area because it was not a good representation of our city. And that is their improvements have drastically changed the first impression of someone who drives into Greenville when they see that area out there. We need to have a big sign somewhere out there that says, "Welcome to the city of Greenville." And they would go, "Man, this looks awesome." And this expansion is not going to do anything but improve the quality of our perspective to people who drive through our community. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited about what they're doing and the potential for growth for them and for the continued support they're going to provide to the many agencies that they do partner with here in the county. And I appreciate Mark Stubbs and his team and all that they do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing, and what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue? Is there a motion?
Yes, I move that the council approve item 6A pursuant to the restrictions agreed by the Forester Street property owners and FEC. Specifically that FEC agrees to, number one, not build a commercial driveway on the Eastern Forester track until at least 12/31/2032. And number two, file a restrictive covenant regarding the Western Forester track within 90 days of today, limiting construction of a commercial driveway so long as the property carries a single-family 2 zoning designation.
Thank you. Is there a second regarding that motion? Second. The motion is second. Please vote. And it passes unanimously. Congratulations. Item 6B, would the council like to take a 5-minute break before we move into item 6B?
Please.
You would?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good to meet you in person. Several times.
Yeah. Any issues come up, I basically just address that thing based on what you sent me, so.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll go back into regular session under item 6B, consideration and action on an ordinance considering a request by Henry Sherman for a zoning change from ag zoning to multifamily District 1. Steve?
Are you sure?
Yeah, this time.
All right, I'm kind of excited to bring this one to you. Is there another slide in there? Let me see one of those other ones. Yeah, leave it. That'll work right there. Okay, so what you're seeing on the left-hand part, that's Britain Chevrolet. And Wildcatters is, y'all saw all the stuff in the paper, you know, they're doing a bunch of development. But what I'm excited about this, they're asking for a zoning change in what's red there, and that's for multifamily 1 zoning. Currently, it's zoned agriculture. But what I'm really excited about is that in doing this, they got to start building Traders Road from Monty Stratton, which means we're starting to move to get a connection back there. They'll have to put in roughly 2,000 foot of building Traders Road. So it's kind of exciting. They have commercial on the front. They got some other projects that we'll be bringing to you before long. But, you know, this is a transition from commercial to residential, what you're doing more residential. But, you know, the transition, you go from commercial down to multifamily and so forth. So this falls right in line with what comprehensive plan suggests we do. This is a 300-unit apartment complex. And this will be the first project, but that'll get us started on Traders Road. And I know he's got other projects. I've talked to him about it. I know what they've got coming. But it's exciting that we're finally going to get this built because I know we've been looking at it for years and years. So I took this to Planning and Zoning last month, and they recommended approval of it by a vote of 8-1. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. We've talked to their engineer. We've got detention figured out and currently working on the civils to get ready to get the street going. But it's a great project. It kind of falls in line with good zoning schemes. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Steve? Or no questions? If the developer's here, Mr. Murphy, do you want to make a presentation or speak about this for a moment?
Say a few words.
Good.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Ted Murphy, Wildcatter Realty Partners, 1431 Greenway Drive in Irving, Texas. So this, we're here to request the rezoning of this 20-acre parcel, which is part of a much bigger plan that we have for our Greenbelt project here in Greenville. And this will help satisfy some of the multifamily demand that we have here in the city, because most of our multifamily here is full. And we're working with a developer by the name of Freestone Development, who's been doing this for 30 or 40 years. They've got 40 or 50 projects just like this in cities like Greenville around the state of Texas and the southeast and southwest. But they're a first-class multifamily developer. They're chafing at the bit to kind of get this going. So a few things about this project. One, as Steve said, this is going to be the start of trying to extend Traders Road from Monty Stratton off to the east to connect it eventually with Wesley Street. Also, we're going to have to start extending Monty Stratton to the south and extend that and widen that to 4 lanes from the I-30 service road down to the edge of our property. So there's probably 1,000 feet of Monty Stratton that we'll have to construct as part of this as well. Both these roads are on the city thoroughfare plan. They're all on the plan for the future. We're in design currently on those roads right now, working with the city public works and the engineering department to get those going. But so in addition, you know, we're rezoning this from agricultural use to multifamily use. Currently, the ag, property values here are de minimal compared to what this project is going to bring in additional tax base to the city. So the developer for this project, he estimates that this is probably a $50 million project that's going to bring new tax base to the city. And it also sits in the city TIR zone. So there's benefit here for TIR projects in the present and the future that this project can help fund in the future. So we're here tonight to answer any questions that you might have about the project, anything we can tell you about it to help you understand what we're doing out here. But we're happy to request the rezoning of this to multifamily 1.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Murphy? No questions? Then I will, as a formal matter, I will open the public hearing. And as I understand, there are no applications to either speak in favor of or opposition to this, so I'll close the public hearing. And what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I'd like to make a motion to approve, Mayor.
I second it.
Okay, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 7A, consideration and action on an ordinance approving the initial offer of acquisition for the city of Greenville of over 600 acres for wastewater treatment plant. Daniel?
All right, this is in your package, you had a purchase agreement. We went over some minor changes to that tonight. Basically, this is an extremely important puzzle piece for the city to be able to move forward with its plans, its 5-year plan for water provision and handling sewer for the city and surrounding areas. This 610 acres was one of 5 different sites reviewed by our engineers to determine the best location to expand the water treatment facilities that we already have up in North Greenville. And expand the sewage treatment facility that we have on this site. This 610 acres surrounds the sewage treatment plant. And then also to build a reservoir on the property. This property that's currently owned by Nick and Carla Martin was really the only cost-effective area for the city to do that. So about 8 months to a year ago, we started negotiating with them. We hired outside engineers and attorneys to help with that process. At this point, the parties have agreed on contract language and purchase price. The purchase price is $3.365 million. That's $5,500 an acre for floodplain property. You have in front of you, a 16-page purchase agreement. If the city council votes to approve this ordinance to purchase that property, the city would finalize the purchase of that property after receiving the title insurance commitment, but for all timing purposes, that would need to be completed by the end of January. So it would be about 45 days out from the completion of this process. This process, once the city purchases this 610 acres, that will allow all the staff to move forward with many, many other elements of that water plan. The location of these things that the city plans to build eventually are extremely key, and we can't really move forward until this process is done. So I can answer any questions that you've got, but this is the 610 acre deal that we've been talking about for more than half a year at this point, and comes with a leaseback agreement. So long as the city's not actually using the property yet, the Martins would lease that back to continue their farming operations there, which is for all this land is hay production, and for other uses as well if they want. But I can answer any questions that you have about that, or if there's no questions and you approve this tonight, this tomorrow morning will go to the Martins representative and to Kinsey, which is working on the closing documents and the deed documents. And then they will finalize the title policy. We'll review that, make sure that there's no problems that we don't know about, like with hazardous waste or anything like that. And then it'll come back it'll go back to the Martins for their secondary approval. That it doesn't have to come back in front of the council, but the city will show up at some point in January and hand them a $3.365 million check. In return, we'll get a deed that lists some of these, lists everything that we're buying, and then we'll make reference to the purchase agreement that's being approved tonight. That will go on file. That's what will allow city staff to move forward with the many other steps necessary to complete the overall water project in the next 3 years.
I'd like the city manager to address also, just so understood, that we engaged a water consultant that looked at several different locations in the city and found this to be the optimum. Can you talk about that just a moment?
Yeah, sure, certainly. We had a consultant from Bartlett and West. He's been working on a couple of our other projects as far as our water plant, so he's very familiar with what we're trying to do for future planning and what we currently have. And so he's also working on the raw water line as well. So that was an important piece of this whole entire regional planning. But yes, Lee, they studied, I believe, 5 different sites. Hydraulically, this one turned out to be the best site. And the proximity also to our raw water line was a plus as well. And then we also have, as Daniel stated, our current wastewater treatment plant in that location as well. So being able to expand, which we couldn't expand any further, we could a little bit, but expanding that plant out there with this 600 acres will just help us. Obviously, once you start producing more water, if we do a new water treatment plant, you also need more treatment of your sewer as well. And then also being able to have the ability to have reservoirs out there was a big plus that the consultant also looked at as well. I believe it took them probably 6 to 8 months to find the optimal place. They looked at several other places as well, from a hydraulic, from a floodplain standpoint, and all those different aspects that they. So this was looked at, not just for a short period of time. It's been looked at over the last couple of years for planning purposes. So yeah, we did. Bartlett and West did a great job for us looking at that as well.
Okay. Any questions from the council regarding Daniel or Summer regarding these issues? If not, I'll open this up for public testimony. As I understand, there's no request for. Okay, so I'll close the public testimony. What is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
Move that we approve the purchase agreement.
I second it.
Motion second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. So now we move to item 8A, and I'm going to move those items up, some items up that are listed on your agenda on 14A and B. 14A is consideration and action of a resolution of the reappointment of a municipal court judge for the city of Greenville. And I don't know that, is there a motion regarding this issue, I guess?
I move that we reappoint Katie Ferguson as the municipal judge.
Okay. Motion and second. You can get them up.
That's a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Okay. So that motion passes unanimously. Item 14B, consideration and action on a resolution appointing a city secretary. Is there a motion regarding that issue?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I think you need to name a person in that motion, right? I think you need to name a person. Did you name?
Oh, I make a motion to approve appointing Carla as city secretary.
Okay, so Carla Oldacre will become the city secretary. Please, is there a second?
Second.
Please vote. And that item passes unanimously. Now, back to resolutions. 8A, consideration and action on a resolution appointing members to the Greenville Board of Development. Is there a motion regarding that issue?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. Make sure my sound's on. Resolution 1, the committee would like to appoint Dr. Chet Haney as the chairman and reappoint Tim Dooley and Jerry Morris for their remaining term.
Okay, is there a second regarding that
second.
motion?
And reappoint Chet Haney as well to the board, I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Okay, and
right.
reappoint Chet Haney.
Right.
Mhm.
Is there a second regarding that motion?
I second it.
Okay, motion and second, please vote.
The second part of that resolution,
Okay, and it passes unanimously.
that was
Okay, now,
one.
yeah, that's the first. Now, consideration, action, Resolution 8B, consideration action on a resolution naming chairman to the following boards and commissions, and that will be included in a single resolution. Is there a motion regarding that
Yes, sir.
item?
I would like to make a motion to name the following people to the following committees. Planning and Zoning, Bernice Brown as the chair. Parks and Recreation, Mandy Stewart as the chair. The TERS Board, Sue Ann Harding and George Lacey. Civil Service, Tim Dooley, chair, and Pat Bowman. The Library Board, Angela Owens, chair, along with Jimmy Hamilton. Substandard Structures, Glover George, chair. Tourism and Convention, Patty Donahoe, chair. And Mayor, we have a couple that we did not finalize. We'll talk about, I think, in the near future.
Yes, a couple of those, Civil Service Commission, no, Main Street Advisory and Shelter, Animal Shelter. Okay, is there a second regarding that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. Item 8C, consideration action on a resolution to ratify the meet and confer agreement between the City of Greenville and the Municipal Police Association. Sherry Wells.
Hey, Mayor and Council. I wanted to get back in touch with you guys with regards to a action that we took back in September where the City Council recognized the GMPA as the agent, sole and exclusive agent, to be able to enter into a meet and confer agreement with the city regarding a change that they wanted to make to the civil service rules. Currently, right now, the civil service rules indicate that we can't hire anyone over the age of 44, or when they turn 45, they can't be hired. And so we entered into, the city and the GMPA entered into a meet and confer agreement to change that from 45 to 55 so that we could potentially get more certified officers on the force. We had that meeting. We all agreed that this is the best thing for the city at this point in time. And so right now, what we'd like to do is present it back to you so that you would ratify the resolution so we can go forward with this.
Okay.
Any questions?
No. See the chief back there. Would you like to make a comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This is something that I had asked for since being appointed as chief of police. I think this gives us an opportunity to get more experienced officers from other agencies that may be tired of working in the Metroplex. They can actually do their 20 years, retire, and then still come over and serve the citizens of Greenville for quite some time. So I appreciate everything this council's done to help this police department. We've made great strides over the last 6 months, and I think this will help us just continue that momentum and go forward.
Okay. Are there any questions for Sherry or the chief? Okay, if there aren't, I'll open that for public testimony, and there are no one for public testimony, so I'll close the public testimony. And what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I second it.
Motion to second, please vote.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Okay. So it passes, let's see, it passes unanimously. Item 8D, consideration action on a resolution authorizing the approval of the hotel occupancy tax funding for 2022-2023.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. November 17th, the Tourism Convention Advisory Board met and heard presentations from 4 different organizations that were seeking tourism funding for this fiscal year. This year, we had applications totaling $68,000. Our budget line item that was approved is $50,000. The recommendation from the Tourism Board is before you tonight. The Audie Murphy American Cotton Museum, $27,000. Greenville Entertainment Series, $10,000. Dallas Symphony Greenville, $9,000. And Rotary's Cotton Patch Challenge Bicycle Ride, $4,000. And that would be the full $50,000 funding of the budget.
Okay, any questions? Okay. Assume there's no public testimony, so I'll ask the council, what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion second, please vote.
Hey, Tim.
Okay. And it passes unanimously. Item 8E, consideration action on a resolution authorizing publication of notice of intention to issue certificates of obligation. GP.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. At the final meeting in September, you guys had moved forward with I believe it was a resolution to eventually move forward in the 22-23 fiscal year to go out for certificates of obligation to fund certain capital requests up to $3 million. Stephen Adams, Managing Director at SPFI, who we work with, is here to give a brief presentation on that, and I'll go ahead and let him take over.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Hey, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Stephen Adams. So we've looked at a list of projects I know we went over, as GP said, in the meeting in September. We looked at the average life of each of those projects, and we've assigned a life of the certificates to go along with that average life. And so we have some that were 15 years and some that were 20 years, for a total of $2,602,018 in actual projects. We added all the cost of issuance and rounded to $5,000, which is a bond denomination. And based on our calculation of the assessed valuation, the tax rate impact of this would be 0.007 cents. If you approve this authorization tonight, we will move forward and sell in February. And this is the debt service that we have projected. The projected interest rate is 3.86%. We have 25 basis points of cushion in that in case the rates actually go up. So right now, the actual interest rates would be 25 basis points, which is 0.25% lower than this. So you can see the debt service is about $215,000 or less for the first 15 years, and then it drops off for the last 5 years as those 15-year projects are repaid, and then there's a few 20-year projects. This is the sources and uses of funds. We do expect to get a premium. We are going to sell these on a competitive bid basis. I'll go over the calendar on the next slide, but we have cost of issuance of $75,000. That's our fees, attorney's fees, attorney general fees, rating fees, and some small banking fees. So we will end up with a project amount of $2,602,110. So these are the projects themselves. We looked at these again in September. I'll let you look over these for a minute and see if you have any questions or comments on that. So Does anybody have questions on this slide? Okay, I'll move forward then. If you need me to go back, that's fine. This is the timing. When you sell certificates of obligation pursuant to state law, you have to publish in the newspaper 2 times. It has to be on the same day of the week in 2 consecutive weeks. And that publication we are planning on doing on the 22nd and the 29th of December. We can't sell these certificates until 45 days after that first publication in December the 22nd. During that time, we'll be putting together offering documents. We will get our rating updated by Standard & Poor's, and then we will come back in February with bids on these certificates and present the bids to the council, which will actually be an offer to purchase your certificates. And if everything goes as planned, we'll sell at that time if you authorize that sale in February, at which point all these documents have to be approved by the Attorney General's Office of Texas, like every other political subdivision in the state, and we will close in late March. Any questions? Comments?
Any questions for Stephen? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will, I guess, there are no comments regarding public testimony, so what is the pleasure of the council regarding this issue?
Motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, please vote. And it passes unanimously. I'd like to ask the city secretary to read the consent calendar.
City Council minutes from November 8th, 2022. Resolution authorizing final payment to Texas Bit of Irving, Texas for the excavation and reconstruction of Graham Park parking lot. Resolution authorizing the purchase of shade structure for the Orange Field at Sports Park. Resolution authorizing a 1-year contract renewal with Big City Crushed Concrete. Ordinance authorizing release of retainage with Banda Construction.
Thank you, and I think some of these are budgeted items that we're just following through on, right?
That is correct.
What is the, I'll open the public testimony. There being no one, I'll close the public testimony. What is the pleasure of the council regarding these issues?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
And it passes unanimously. Okay, city staff, city council reports, October financials.
So, thank you, Carla. Awesome. So I'll be reviewing the October monthly financials. This is the first month of the fiscal year, so we'll be 8% through the fiscal year. And then just to remind you all the timeline of how we present because of the November and December schedules, we'll be reviewing the November financials, that second meeting in January, the December financials, the first meeting in February, and then we'll be back caught up at that second meeting of February reviewing the January financials. This is a review of the general fund revenues and expenditures. We're at 7% for each of expected collections and budgeted expectations. For the revenues, we're at about 2.1 million, and for the expenses, we're at 2.2 million. Our biggest collection in the revenue right now, oh, accidentally, I don't know how to go back. If you hit the back arrow on your keyboard, thank you. Perfect, thank you. The biggest chunk of that revenue is sales tax, which is just under $1 million at 44%, and then the biggest chunk of the expenditures is public safety, making up 56% at $1.2 million. And then this is a review of that sales tax figure. Our sales tax collections are up a little over $93,000 or 13% compared to October of fiscal year 2022. That chart again just charts out what that is the previous 10 years. Our sales tax target for this year is $10.8 million. Year-to-date actual is $899,000, leaving $9.9 million remaining sales tax to collect to meet our budget. So we're on pace there. And then this is just looking at that sales tax current period collections, and the current period collections were $863,488, an increase of just above 7% compared to October of 2021. And then just as a reminder, this has that lagging effect where they were collected by businesses in August, reported in September to the state, and then received in October by the city. And then this just charts out those collection net payments received by the city over the previous 10 years as well. This is a review of the water and sewer fund revenues. Through October, they're just above $1.5 million or 8% of budgeted expectations. So again, 8% through the year, that's about exactly where we need to be. And then going down, that reviews the water at $780,000, wastewater at $571,000, and then other fees, charges, and sales coming in at $203,000 to make up that $1.5 million total. And then finally, we have the review of the hotel motel occupancy tax. In October, they came in at $57,163, which was an increase of 14% compared to October of last year. And then those other two lines just show the trends from the prior 2 years. And does anybody have any questions?
Any questions?
Awesome. Thank you. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This will be your status report. Obviously, as of today, same schedule that we'll be on with GPs for the monthly, so we won't get caught up and probably until the month of February to get everything caught up. So just keep that in mind. Oh, too fast. Waste Connections complaint log. If you'll look at October 22nd, it was down from September, thankfully down from August. It looks a little bit down from October of 21 as well. So haven't seen as many complaints. Just as an FYI, we did start kind of a new system trying to be more proactive. We met with Waste Connections. We met with Juice because they get a lot of the complaints as well as we do too, as from the city. And so they should be tagging everything and every reason why they're not picking up your garbage, or for whatever reasons. Let's just say it has construction materials in it or something that's not approved, or the canister's too close to certain things that they can't get it from the automatic truck standpoint. So they should be tagging all of that. And then what they are doing is logging a sheet that's shared with our Juice customer service reps. So if you do call, then our Juice, the customer service reps at Juice should be able to look that up and tell you why that's taken care of, instead of us having to come to. It comes to us probably sometimes, and then I go to Waste Connections, and then they look at the video and things like that. So we just instituted it probably 3 weeks ago. So it's fairly new. So there's going to be some learning curve. So this is just something we're trying to be more proactive. I have seen less complaint emails come across my desk. I haven't gotten an update from Juice from that standpoint, from a complaint standpoint. So hopefully we'll see this to decline a little bit in the future.
I had a question about that.
Okay.
Whatever happened to the cards they're supposed to tag onto the totes?
That's what they should be doing now.
Has anyone ever seen a card put on any tote ever?
I have not. Personally, I can't say personally that I have. I do know that Juice has told us there are customers that call that say, hey, mine got tagged because it has construction materials in there. Why didn't it get picked up? Well, what does the tag say? So I think it has. Juice has told us it has happened.
Okay.
It hasn't happened as much as it should be happening. And so that should be happening going forward. And if it's not, we're going to, we also start monthly meetings in January to address any kind of billing issues or customer service issues that we're having. So we're having that with Juice, myself, GP from a financial standpoint, Waste Connections, and all the customer service folks over at Juice. So that should be happening in the future. Like I said, we just met 3 weeks ago, and we reiterated that again because that's probably the second time that I've had a meeting about them tagging things. And so it should be happening going forward in the future. but I
Okay.
personally have not seen one, so I can't say that I have.
At that meeting, they did tell us they hadn't done it in 6 months.
I've had several complaints personally, and my things have never been tagged. And
Yeah.
my neighbors, when they're trash,
Yeah.
I never see a tag on any of the totes.
Yeah, I understand. So that's the second time I've addressed it with them. So we'll see. We're hopeful. We're hoping for the best. Utility cuts, we're a little bit down from, I don't know if that's a good sign that maybe we don't have as many water breaks. So hopefully that is the good sign, especially a lot down from from the previous October. Pothole repairs were pretty consistent with the last couple of months, so nothing too crazy to report there. Street sweeping was about the same, 51 miles of street. Just remind you the downtown area is swept on a weekly basis, working with the Parks and Rec Department on that, and the Streets Department. The mowed areas, obviously, with the rain, the Long Branch, I think they start on the north end of town and work their way to the south end. With that rain, I think they've got some of the north end, and then all the rain started, and then so they're just getting that as they can as it dries out. So if you see that. Intersections cleared, about 24 of those were cleared for the month of October. Signs replaced, they replaced about 41. I think this is replaced and new signs because we have quite a few of the new subdivisions that are coming in, so those street signs are included in this report as well. Building permits issued looks a little bit down, about half of what it was in September of 22, and then especially if you compare it to October of 21, but I probably should have gone back another to the previous October because October 21 was post-COVID, so everybody was ramping up and it was really kind of a record year, like everybody get going. So I think in the future I'm going to adjust that to maybe just show that 1 month that was actually October of 20 and maybe even October of 19 so we can actually see what was really issued at that time. And then certificates of occupancy also were down to 6 in October, which doesn't really indicate anything. This time, normally, time of year is kind of slow for that kind of activity with the holidays and coming up. And so, I don't think, when you look at the 47 from October of 21, I don't think that's a good standard to try to live up to from that sense. It is a little bit down. It has slowed. Obviously, the market has slowed. So getting folks in those houses as quickly as is not happening as quickly as it used to. The markets, I think, I guess if you call it normalizing, whatever normal is at this point. So I think, we can look at that. Back in June, there was only 3 and 11. So I think we can probably see a better trend going forward. And then raw water line, we're at the same position as well. Obviously, with moving forward with, easements and things like that is still happening through Daniel Ray's office in Quincy. So we'll continue that process to get those easements. But as far as pipe goes, we're still working on, securing as much pipe as we possibly can. So I think Preston, his guys are working on that every single day. And so once we do have an update, then obviously we'll continue to do that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Any questions
Thank y'all.
for Summer? Thank you, Summer. We'll move to item 11, City Council discussion of proposed agenda items. Are there any items for discussion? Proposed items? There being none, I'll move on to item 12, Board and Commission minutes, which you have before you. And it looks like this meeting is adjourned. We have nothing more in executive session. And so we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you for coming tonight. Apologize for the length of the meeting. We got through it all. So thank you very much and happy holidays.